February the 14th, 2005. The Town by the Sea, 2005. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands are one of those quadrants of the globe where political and geological fault lines run on parallel courses. Politically, the islands have been administered from the Indian mainland ever since their annexation by the British. Today, they are Indian Union territories, ruled directly by New Delhi. But geologically, the chain stands just beyond the edge of the Indian tectonic plate. Stretching through 435 miles of the Bay of Bengal, the islands are held aloft by a range of undersea mountains that stand guard over the abyssal deep of the Sunda Trench. Of the 572 islands, only 36 are inhabited. The Andamans is the name given to the northern part of the archipelago, while the Nicobars lie to the south. At their uppermost point, the Andamans are just a few dozen miles from Burma's Cocoa Islands, infamous for their prisons, while the southernmost edge of the Nicobars is only 125 miles from the ever-restless region of Aceh. This part of the chain is so positioned that the tsunami of December the 26th, 2004, hit it just minutes after it hit the coastline of northern Sumatra. Despite the hundreds of miles of water that separate the Andamans from the Indian mainland, many of the relief camps in Port Blair, the island's capital city, have the appearance of miniaturized portraits of the nation. Only a small percentage of their inmates are indigenous to the islands. The others are settlers from different parts of the mainland: Bengal, Orissa, Punjab, Andhra Pradesh, and Uttar Pradesh. If this comes as a surprise, it is because the identity of the islands, and indeed the alibi for the present form of their rule, lies in an administrative conception of the primitive that dates back to the British Raj. The idea that these islands are somehow synonymous with backwardness is energetically promoted in today's Port Blair. Hoardings depicting naked primitives line the streets, and I heard of a sign that instructs onlookers to love your primitive tribe. In most parts of the mainland, these images would long since have been defaced or torn down for the sheer offensiveness of their depictions. Not so on these islands, which are more a projection of India than a part of its body politic. As with many colonies, they represent a distended and compressed version of the mother country in its weaknesses and strengths, its aspirations and failings. Over the past 2 weeks, both the fault lines that underlie the islands seem suddenly to have been set in motion. It is as if the hurried history of an emergent nation had collided here with the deep time of geology. The mainland settlers in the camps are almost unanimous in describing themselves as having come to the islands in search of land and opportunity. Listening to their stories, it is easy to believe that most of them found what they were looking for. Here, in this far-flung chain of islands, tens of thousands of settlers were able to make their way out of poverty into the ranks of the country's expanding middle class. But, on the morning of December the 26th, this hard-won betterment became a potent source of vulnerability. For to be middle class in India, or anywhere else, is to be kept afloat on a life raft of paper. Identity cards, licenses, ration cards, school certificates, checkbooks, certificates of life insurance, and receipts for fixed deposits. It was the particular nature of this disaster that it targeted not just the physical being of the victims, but also the proof of the survivors' identities. An earthquake would have left remnants to rummage through. Floods and hurricanes would have allowed time for survivors to safeguard their essential documents on their persons. The tsunami, in the suddenness of its onslaught, allowed for no preparations. Not only did it destroy the survivors' homes and decimate their families, it also robbed them